There is a moment, quiet, small, almost invisible, when someone is deciding if they feel safe with you or judged by you. It happens in the pause between your words, in the look behind your eyes, in the way you lean in or pull away. And once that moment passes, the door either opens or it quietly closes. We don't win people by overpowering them with words. We win people by offering presence, by making them feel seen, not scanned, heard, not handled, understood, not evaluated. And in a world that is shouting to be heard, the greatest influence you will ever have is to be the person who listens, not to reply, but to understand. You see, people don't remember the advice you gave. They remember how you made them feel about their own voice when they were with you. That's what Dale Carnegie understood. That every conversation is a fork in the road, a chance to uplift or to diminish, to connect or correct, to build a bridge or draw a line. Carnegie once wrote, "Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Not because it's polite, but because it's powerful. Empathy is not weakness. It is the highest form of wisdom." Lincoln knew it, Mandela lived it, and you too can lead with it. But it begins here, in this sacred shift from talking to impress to listening to connect. So ask yourself, when someone speaks to you, do they feel they're on trial? Or do they feel safe enough to be real in your presence? Do you rush to fix, to advise, to label? Or do you pause, breathe, and invite them to keep unfolding their truth because you can hold space for it without shrinking, without judging, without flinching? It's not easy, but that's where trust lives, in the hard places. The places where most people flinch, and yet you are not most people. You're here because you want to lead differently, to speak differently, to be different, not louder, not sharper, just more attuned, more awake. Because deep down, you already know. People change when they feel understood. Walls fall when someone finally feels heard. Defensiveness melts when judgment disappears. Influence doesn't begin with charisma. It begins with curiosity. So the next time someone speaks, don't interrupt with a solution. Interrupt your urge to fix. Let your silence be a soft place for them to land. Because people aren't puzzles to solve. They're stories to be honored. They're storms that need stillness, not structure. They're hearts hoping someone, anyone, will simply listen long enough to know them beneath the surface. And when you speak, let your words be less about control and more about care. Let them carry the tone of "I'm here with you," not "I know better than you." Because when people feel safe with you, they open. And when they open, they trust. And when they trust, transformation begins. This is the secret that Dale Carnegie gave the world, and the world has never needed it more than now. In relationships, at work, in family, in conflict, this quiet art of speaking to understand, of listening without judging, of showing up with empathy instead of ego. It changes everything, but it starts with you. It starts right here, in how you look at the next person who crosses your path. Not as a problem, not as a project, but as a person. They don't need you to be perfect. They just need to feel safe enough to be imperfect with you. And when you give them that, without fixing, judging, or preaching, you win more than their attention. You win their trust, their loyalty, their heart. Because in the end, people don't follow the one who talks the most. They follow the one who makes them feel like they matter most. There's a truth few talk about. Most people walk through life feeling unheard. They speak, but no one really listens. They explain, but they're still misunderstood. They open up, but they're met with correction, or worse, indifference. And slowly, quietly, they stop sharing. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned the world doesn't always know how to hold what's sacred. You've met people like that. Maybe you've been someone like that. And if you have, then you already know. One moment of being deeply understood can soften years of silence. This is why your presence matters more than your performance. This is why how you listen matters more than how you speak. Because words are everywhere, but understanding is rare. And when you learn to offer that understanding, you become rare too. That's the paradox. If you want to be someone others listen to, you must first be the one who listens. If you want people to trust you, to open up to you, to respect you when you speak, you must first show them that their voice is safe with you. It sounds simple, but it requires a strength most overlook. The strength to withhold judgment, the strength to sit with discomfort, the strength to say, Tell me more instead of, let me tell you why you're wrong. Think of the people who shaped you. The teachers, mentors, friends, the ones who didn't interrupt your growth by inserting their opinion too soon. They let you struggle. They let you speak. They let you arrive at your own clarity. And that gave you the gift of agency. It gave you ownership of your transformation. That's real leadership. That's real influence. Not the kind that demands compliance, but the kind that awakens people to their own voice, their own answers, their own light. That's what Dale Carnegie meant when he said, talk in terms of the other person's interests. It wasn't just a communication tactic, it was a philosophy of humanity. It was a way of saying, I honor your experience. I value your view. Even if I don't agree, I still respect that it matters to you. Imagine what the world would look like if more conversations began that way. If more people were willing to lose an argument in order to gain a relationship. Because here's what they don't teach in most places. You don't have to win every debate. You just have to win people. And people aren't won through logic alone. They're won through emotional safety. They're won through genuine curiosity. They're won through the feeling, you see me, you hear me. You're not trying to fix me, you're trying to know me. That's what breaks walls. That's what changes hearts. Not louder words, but deeper understanding. Not aggressive persuasion, but patient empathy. The best communicators are not those with the cleverest words. They are those who create space. Space where people feel seen, not shamed, valued, not evaluated, accepted, not edited. And when you become someone who can offer that kind of space, your voice carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it's earned. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you speak in a way that stays with people long after the words are gone. Because they won't remember what you said word for word, but they will remember how your presence made them feel. Less alone, less afraid, less like a problem to be fixed, and more like a human worthy of dignity. So when you speak, speak with grace, speak with empathy, speak from the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to dominate to feel strong, who doesn't need to be right to feel worthy, who doesn't need to raise their voice to earn respect. Because your greatest power is not in the volume of your voice, it's in the depth of your care. There's a story told about Abraham Lincoln, a man who bore the weight of a fractured nation, yet rarely raised his voice. He didn't lead through command, he led through compassion. He didn't rush to condemn those who disagreed. He tried to understand why they believed what they did. When others shouted across aisles, he invited quiet conversation. When they insulted, he inquired, and when they pushed with anger, he responded with calm clarity. It wasn't weakness, it was the highest form of discipline. It was what made him magnetic, even to enemies. People respected him not because he fought for control, but because he carried himself with control. That's the kind of strength you must carry today. Because here's the truth. Anyone can shout, anyone can interrupt, anyone can dominate a room with noise, but very few have the courage to stay calm when they feel disrespected. Very few have the discipline to listen when their ego wants to react. Very few can take the emotional high road when judgment feels easier than empathy. And that's why those who can stand out. That's why those who do become leaders in the truest sense, not through titles, but through trust. Because influence isn't about getting louder. It's about getting closer to what someone feels, what someone fears, what someone wishes they could say out loud without being torn apart for it. And when you give someone the rare gift of not being judged the moment they open up, you give them something powerful. You give them the chance to grow in front of you without shame. And that is how you become unforgettable. Not by always having the answer, but by being the person who lets others find theirs. Not by having the sharpest opinion, but by offering the softest place to land. Not by overpowering every room, but by being the calm within the room that everyone instinctively trusts. So speak, but speak with purpose. Speak with empathy. Speak with the quiet authority that only comes from someone who has nothing to prove and everything to give. Be the person who listens longer, who breathes before reacting, who honors another person's pain without needing to compete with it. And when it's your turn to talk, don't talk to impress. Don't talk to win. Don't talk to make someone feel smaller so you can feel bigger. Talk to connect. Talk to lift. Talk to understand. Because the greatest communicators in history, Carnegie, Roosevelt, Mandela, They didn't manipulate with words. They elevated with presence. They saw the humanity in every face, and they spoke to that humanity, not to their pride, not to their mistakes, but to the part of them that wanted to grow. And when you speak to that part of people, they listen, they lean in, they follow. Not because they're forced to, but because they want to. So don't chase approval. Don't chase applause. Chase truth. Chase connection. Chase the kind of conversation that makes people feel safe, seen, and strong. Because when you speak so they feel understood, not judged, you don't just influence moments, you shape lives. You build bridges. You start movements that echo quietly, but powerfully, in the hearts of everyone you meet. And that is the kind of voice the world needs more of. Let it be yours.